Okay, so peace and greetings to you. And today I'm going to show you an almost unbelievable story about slavery. All right. Not past slavery, but slavery that is still going on right now. As you can see at the top in this address bar, we are at msn.com/, and a bunch of stuff after that. So I'm just showing you what site we are at. And this is from The Guardian. It says Black man enslaved by South Carolina restaurant manager is owed $546,000, court rules. Okay, it says a former restaurant manager serving 10 years in prison for effectively enslaving a man, forcing him to work more than 100 hours a week without pay, must double the restitution he pays to his former employee to more than $500,000, a court ruled. Bobby Paul Edwards, a 56-year-old white man who ran a restaurant in Conway, South Carolina, has now been ordered to pay John Christopher Smith, a black man with intellectual disabilities, $546,000. A recent appellate court ruling declared that Smith should receive double the $273,000 he was initially awarded in restitution after being enslaved and physically abused for 5 years. Edwards pleaded guilty to a forced labor charge in 2019 after failing to pay Smith any wages from 2009 to 2014, when he was working as a buffet cook and was sentenced to 10 years. When an employer fails to pay those amounts, regular and overtime pay, the employee suffers losses, which includes the loss of the use of that money during the period of delay. The Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit recently ruled. Yeah. Smith first began working at J&J Cafeteria when he was 12, the Post and Courier reported. Edwards eventually took over the business from relatives in 2009 and forced Smith to work 100 hours a week with no days off. 100 hours a week with no days off. Smith was kept from his family, called racial slurs, whipped with belts and kitchen pans, and burned with metal tongs that had been dipped in hot grease during what court documents called a reign of terror. You understand? A reign of terror, the Post reported. Most of the time, I felt unsafe, like Bobby could kill me if he wanted, Smith said, according to court records. I wanted to get out of that place so bad, but couldn't think about how I could without being hurt. A woman named Janine Keynes had a daughter-in-law who worked at the restaurant and had knowledge of Edwards' treatment of Smith. Keynes reported the restaurant owner in 2014, NBC reported. For stealing his victims' freedom and wages, Mr. Edwards has earned every day of his sentence, Sherry Lydon, U.S. Attorney for the District of South Carolina, said when Edwards was convicted. The U.S. Attorney's Office will not tolerate forced or exploitative labor in South Carolina, and we are grateful to the watchful citizen and our partners in law enforcement who put a stop to this particularly cruel violence. Now, obviously, this is an extreme case, but this thing happened. And as you see here, this story came out 4 hours ago. But what I'm mentioning this for now is the evil hearts of people is why slavery took so long to end in the first place, at least in this country, this United States, right? there have been slavery in multiple countries across the earth. And that tells me that there are wicked people who simply will not honor their fellow man as being a human being unless they are forced to do so. How would you describe a person like that? Let's see. A former restaurant manager serving 10 years in prison for effectively enslaving a man. Let's see who he enslaved. Bobby Paul Edwards, a 56-year-old white man, right? He enslaved a black man with intellectual disabilities. How would you describe Bobby Paul Edwards? Would you call him a saint? Would you call him an angel? Or would you call him a devil? See, this is what I'm talking about. Some of you people think that El Hajj Malik Shabazz, the brother from the past known more popularly as Malcolm X, or anybody like him, right? And just as a side note, I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam. However, some of the things they said were absolutely correct and still are. You understand? But I'm not ashamed of them in any way, because at least they had the balls and still have the balls to say what they mean and mean what they say, whether you agree with it or not. Bobby Paul Edwards is a devil. So, his white skin, it just happens to be a white man who enslaved a man with intellectual disabilities. But I also want to show you something else about, even though this news report, this article is condemning his behavior, I want to show you how they treat Moors, right? So-called Negroes, who are the children of Israel. Let me put that in there as well. But I'm just using the word Moor because you can find it in the 1936 Webster's Universal Dictionary. And so any idiot who wants to argue, you can look at the video about that, or you can look in the damn dictionary yourself. All right? Nonetheless, how old was this so-called man with intellectual disabilities when he first started working there for free? Let's see. Let me get back to the spot where they said how old he was. Smith, who was the so-called black man who was enslaved by this Caucasoid, by this Caucasian devil, he was 12. So why is this article calling him a man? He may be a man now, but just barely. This is just 2021. You understand? So, the reason being, they want to focus on 2009 to 2014. Why is it that when you're talking about a Caucasian victim, you want to call them a girl or a boy sometime, even when they 21, 22? I've seen it too many times. Whereas a Caucasian female can be 22 or 23 and you'll call her a girl, or you'll call him a boy. I remember Dylan Roof, after he murdered 9 people while they were praying, 9 so-called black people at church. You had that Fox News host, Bill O'Reilly, who said Dylan Roof was just a kid who had problems, or however he described him. He wasn't no damn kid. He was a grown-ass man. But you want to emphasize black man. No, this was a black child who was 12 years old when he started, and 17 when he stopped. So this damn devil enslaved a black child who is now a man after the fact with intellectual disabilities. So the reason racism in this country still exists, whether you want to call it systemic racism or not, is not because of laws that are in effect that allow it, as much as people's evil in their heart. You cannot legislate the evil out of somebody's heart like this man who enslaved this black child for 5 years. So I'm glad he's been sentenced to 10 years in prison, because the scripture says he should be put to death. So I guess now, since we want to be under Christ, right, this so-called New Testament, you want to have grace, that's why he's going to prison. You understand? So this is a damn shame. But nonetheless, I wanted to show you this article because this is the real problem. When people are complaining about systemic racism, let me break it down to you what they're talking about. They're talking about evil people like Bobby Paul Edwards who have the power to hire someone because he inherited a job from his family. Or some of these supervisors and bosses who have the power to hire and fire, and you cannot see the evil that is in their heart unless you are the so-called black man or woman who is receiving that evil. You understand? So there are a bunch of evil people who are working in this system. So whether you want to call the system itself or not racist, if your system is full of a bunch of evil people who hate black people, then that means it is a racist system. Okay, so I just had a bit of a distraction, so I'm coming back to this video, which I had paused for a while. But anyway, I think you get the point. Most people who say systemic racism is a problem, and then somebody else will come back and say systemic racism in the United States is not a problem. Just to break it down for you, we don't need to be super technical, all right? Nobody's saying that there's laws on the books that says you can openly enslave someone or openly be a devil, basically, right? Just because of the color of somebody's skin. But we know that these types of people exist. Here is proof of it. This is an extreme case, but you have some people whose heart is evil like this who are police officers. You have some people whose heart is like this who are hiring managers at certain corporations where they don't want certain people to be able to earn a certain amount of money. You understand? So this is not about one occupation. I didn't say it's just systemically racist with the police because in actuality, it's all the way through the system. All right? It's not the police force itself. It's just that you got some wicked people who hiding in every career field. You understand? So with that being said, you would think you wouldn't even have to say the type of information that I'm about to say. But if this is you, if you being mistreated by a so-called employer, if you are working for somebody and not being paid, or you're not even being paid what they agreed to pay you, if it's below minimum wage, it's whatever the case may be, you do not have to stay there. Do not keep working for them. Get you a lawyer, get you some help, whatever. Go to the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. I forgot what they call. Anyway, EEOC. You get the point. Get some help. Don't let anybody enslave you. And as weird as that seems to have to say, obviously it needs to be said. You understand? So, one moment here. So yeah, just wanted to show that to you. If you Google EEOC, it will pull up Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. All right. And so they don't tolerate discrimination. You can file a charge of discrimination. It tells you how to file a charge. Tells you discrimination by type, whether it's harassment, disability. In this case, this would the young man or the child who was enslaved for 5 years. That was just a straight up crime, by the way. But if you were filing a case for it, it would come up under disability discrimination and racial. You understand? So, with that being said, I hope you stand up for your rights, study the law. You don't have to be an attorney to study the law because the jury on every case, not just Derek Chauvin's trial, but on every case, is made up of a group of competent non-lawyers, meaning regular people who are instructed on the law as it regards to whatever court case, and their decision determines whether the person goes to jail or not, or whether they have to pay money or not if it's a civil case. So you do not have to be an attorney, a licensed attorney, to study the law and apply it. All right? So with that being said, have a good day.